for CC.
We're recording at this point.
And they made it so that everybody was really included. So I hope we're able to do that with this as well. This
Okay,
is
can
a
everybody
small.
see that?
I think
Yes.
that's a little bit small, but I'd like to just quickly run through. This is what the program committee kind of talked through as a possible guidelines for us to use with this series. So if we do it quarterly, we can focus on maybe one category per session. It would be collections of animals, birds, cats, whatever. It could be craft items, pottery, painting, embroidery, could be tools, things that hang in, things from kitchen to yard, or travel memorabilia, or etc. Or we don't have to limit it. We could just make it free form. But the main thing is the discussion format. We'd like you to tell us, if you're showing yours, what led to your collecting in this category. Give a brief overview of the collection, and we don't have to show everything you collected. Goodness, you'd be here all day long if I showed you all my chickens. To share a story about the significance of one special object in your collection. So that's where you'll show a little bit more or discuss a little bit more. And then after the person has shared their collection, we'll take about 10 or 15 minutes for each of you to join in how you related to it, either the subject or the story behind it or whatever you want to share about it. We do ask that you respect your privacy. Don't share online an object of great value. For example, don't put your original Picasso up, please. Respect others' privacy and don't take screenshots of someone else's collected items unless the speaker invites you to. We've basically set a guideline of about an hour and a half, and it will be that we'll do that guideline review each time for new people coming in. Then the speaker will have about 10 minutes, and then we'll follow up with 10 to 15 minutes of discussion. Then the second speaker, 10 minutes or so of discussion. And then we'll just have an open discussion, especially this time, about what interests you with this, where you'd like to see it go. So we'll start with my collection, and you'll find out why I have more than a dozen chickens in my house.
Okay, you ready for yours?
I'm ready.
Chickens.
There are several chicken coops in my neighborhood, and as I walk by, I always go, "Puck, puck, puck, puck." Next. Rick is the driver on this.
Vroom, vroom.
All the chickens chime in. Oh, this was the first chicken that sparked my interest. My mother lived in Mississippi and in the house that her parents built. So there was everything going back through history in the attic. And one day I discovered this. It's a paper volume with the accordion and then a two-dimensional head on the chicken. It's a lantern. If you can believe, they would have had a little place to light a candle inside a paper object. I don't understand that, but I was intrigued by it. So I started asking Mother, where did this chicken come from? Next slide. And then I began to find more things around the house. There was this cute little cocktail napkin that was chickens. Next.
This was all at her house, right?
All at my mother's house. Next. And she even, a lot of times she would just do clippings out of magazines and she would turn them into some kind of artistic something. So here was another chicken she had collected. And at some point next, I asked her, Mother, why do you have so many chickens around here? And she said, oh, I hate chickens. Why do you hate chickens? She said, when I was growing up, I had to feed the chickens because those Depression years, everybody had a cow and a chicken and a garden in the back. And she said, the chickens pecked me. They were mean. Well, my comment back to her was, well, Mother, in your 90s, you need to learn to like chickens. So I started giving her objects that were chickens. In New York City, I discovered these wonderful paper cuts, and I had one framed, put in her kitchen. Next. My sister and brother thought she really liked chickens, so they started giving her chickens. Next.
What is the one sitting on the refrigerator? Is it like a
It's like a
puppet?
doll. It's like a chicken doll. It has it's a longhorn chicken, long-legged chicken. On top of my refrigerator right now. And somebody gave her this little iron chicken.
Ooh.
Next. And there was a towel that had all the chickens on it. And after my mother died, we said anybody who gave something to mother could take it back. Well, nobody claimed any of the chickens they had given her. So all the chickens came home to roost with me. Next. Again, she had a little timer, a chicken. Rick asked me earlier if it clucked. No, it just rang a bell. Next. And this is one somebody in my family gave her that was actual chicken feathers. And I do have a neighbor with a chicken coop who gives me those wonderful eggs. Next. And somebody gave her this clever chicken made out of a jingle bell. Next. And just because once you start talking about it, people give you things. So I had mentioned it to one of my Potter friends, and she made me the chicken that's hanging there. And I hung it on a little hook I had found with a chicken. Next. And this is one that I picked up that is just a really pretty glass piece that was the chicken. Again, I'm into buying chickens now, not just for mother, but I got hooked. Next. And that's a little metal one that I think somebody had given mother. Next. There's a little wooden chicken that holds all my utensils on my stove, my cooking utensils. Next. And even here in Austin, I don't know if any of you go to Boggy Creek Farm, but they have a wonderful little storybook about chickens in the hen house. Next. And finally, out of all the chickens that came home to roost with me, as I'm downsizing and planning to move back to that same house in Mississippi, this is the only chicken that will go back with me. My nephew, who's quite a gifted artist, made this chicken plate for my mother. And that's the piece I will keep. And Rick can show the backside of it now. I haven't had a chance to ask him what's the symbol on the back. He lived in Taiwan at the time. So that's my chicken story. That's cute. So I wonder if any of you all have had a similar experience of just getting obsessed with something, and if so, why? And if you have started something, have you had other people just continuing to add to that? You had more than you knew what to do with. So what are your stories that relate to that?
Well, I can say I have about 10 chickens, and I found the first one. I was at a garage sale and I just fell in love with this chicken. I never thought about buying chickens, you know. So I bought it and I started adding to that collection. I have salt and pepper chickens, and you know, I just started adding to the collection. So I've got about 10 of them around of all different kinds. And then I was in a yoga class, and one of the women in there, a woman rabbi, she collected chickens, and she said she didn't want them anymore, so she gave me a bunch of chickens. So I've got chickens.
Who else wants to come in?
Oh, Karen.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start with my mother. She started collecting some glass things, basically like glassware to serve with from Mexico. She and I used to take little $200 trips down to Mexico with her kitten sometimes, with nothing but $200 in our pockets, and go all the way to San Miguel de Allende or somewhere like that. And we would find a lot of art down there. And pretty soon everybody started giving her glass things. She had a gorgeous carved glass bowl filled with glass grapes. And I'm trying to think. She just had things in stained glass in her window that members of her church did and gave her.
Where are those things now?
Distributed among the family.
Uh,
I have her drinking glasses and her plates, the glass plates and stuff. I have a daughter, my oldest daughter, when she was about 7, she had already been obsessed with powerful animals. And she had played with baby little plastic dinosaurs, tigers, eagles, and anything big and powerful. I mean, she had a dinosaur collection, little plastic dinosaurs that she would line up all the way into the living room and up onto the coffee table. And then she would turn on her little children's record player, and she would leave the record off, and she would put the dragons on them. I mean, the dinosaurs, so that they could go around the merry-go-round. She did all this on her own. And then she became obsessed with dragons. And that was, my mother and I had an opportunity to go shopping, and we were at the old Highland Mall. And this fabulously expensive children's toy store was having a great sale. So we went on in. Oh, it was the puppet store, where those are big, big puppets you can put, and they cover your whole arm and everything. There was a huge dragon, and it was half price. Mom and I just had to do it. And we got it for her and made her go on a treasure hunt to find it.
Karen,
And
it's like you are going to be a perfect person to talk about collections. You've gone from about 50 of them right there. So
Anybody
yes.
else have- anybody else
so my
have a
daughter
comment?
finds her dragon, and she just, her mouth drops open and her bottom just plops to the ground, and she squeezes the life out of it. And it just went everywhere with her. And I now have her Beanie Baby dragon. I have a couple of dogs with wings made out of iron. I have a rubber dragon. So I'm kind of into dragons via my daughter.
Sounds like I need to get with you and put together a presentation for one of these.
there we go.
I think it would be lovely if everybody could just do a collect, join in with just anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Being kind of a creative person myself, I think we'll find out more unusual things and maybe some really surprising things if it's just any kind of category except for perhaps private kind of things. You know what I mean?
Well, does anybody else have a connection to this subject that you'd like to throw in a comment on?
Well, I have a question, being as you're the expert. Are most of these roosters or hens?
I'm not sure I know.
Well,
They're hens, they're
the chickens know.
They're hens.
There we go. I think they're all hens. So
If I may add something for chicken lovers, there is a YouTube presenter that is called Grandpa Adler Farms. And what he does on a day, about 3 times a week, he goes out and he feeds his chickens, his dogs, and his goats. And he's got kittens now too. But he does a chicken dance, a wormy dance, he calls it, because they like mealworms.
well, it's amazing what you can find on
and this-
YouTube and TV these days. The other night when I was putting this together, I ran across one that's called Chicken People. It's where it's almost like the dog show. It's a chicken show. So we're going to be moving on to Rick's collections. And you mentioned glass, so you're going to love this one as well. Okay.
oh, good.
Where's mine? Where'd it go? Hold on.
I'm glad Rick is driving this because I'd never be able to find all this.
There it is. Hopefully. Yep. Give me a minute here. Things close down here.
Well, to turn the tables a little bit, we were in Honduras with a mission group about 6 weeks ago, and in rural Honduras, the kitchens, just like in the US parts, run in and out of the house, and that's considered a health hazard in case you need to know that. So I recommend you keep your chickens from sprouting.
Okay, let's try it again now.
Hi, Tom.
I think the correct word for all this series is obsession.
Okay, when I had the opportunity to set up my own place, my own condo, when I became single, I decided I was going to do what I wanted for a change. And so I've always liked glass for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I guess I'm kind of, you'll see I'm kind of obsessed with it. Get this thing to move on now. These are the first two pieces I bought, and the giraffe on the left and the longhorn on the right. And I was just, out shopping one day. This was in the old days of the Highland Mall, and this was at Foley's. And I bought these, not very expensive, but I've always thought they were kind of cool. So I've got my giraffe, my longhorn, and the dolphin. After that, I decided to get a little more serious with glass. So I went to an estate sale. If you're familiar with Austin and you go out 2222 between Mopac and 360, the curving road, there's a big house on the left-hand side, kind of hangs over, looking over Lake Austin. And that was an interior designer. And I think he died, and they had a big estate sale. And I went to it and I bought this piece of glass. And it sits, when I go back to showing everybody's picture, you'll see behind me, it's on the dresser behind me. Started going to Santa Fe, and outside of Santa Fe, past the Opera House, is the Tasuki Indian Reservation. And on the reservation, there are a number of businesses, have nothing to do with the Indians, but that's where they are. And the Tasuki Glass Works is there outside of Santa Fe. And I saw this piece and just really liked it. The way way it's mounted, there's a big glob of glass on the back with a heavy copper wire on it so that you can hang it on the wall. And so this is hanging on the wall in my living room. Here's a better picture of it. Then I bought this piece at the same time. And these two flank a watercolor hanging behind my couch in the living room. A subsequent trip to Santa Fe, I got this piece. This is up on a high shelf in my living room, and there's a light behind it. This is kind of interesting. I was in Istanbul at a store that sold Persian rugs, and through a lot of haggling, I wound up buying a Persian rug. And they said they would ship it to me. Well, 3 weeks later, the salesman showed up on my front doorstep with the rug, as well as a number of others that were available, of course. And over the course, he would visit me whenever he came to the States. And I bought a couple of rugs from him. And he asked me if I had any friends that might be interested. So I sicked him on a couple of friends, one who bought a couple of large rugs. So on a visit after that, he brought me this present. So very typical for their glass, but very different from anything I have or that you see here. It's in Anchorage, Alaska on a cruise, and it ended on the summer solstice, which is coming up this month. So they have a celebration kind of like our Pecan Street, where everything shuts down and they have street vendors and food and all that. And so we're walking around. We had a whole afternoon before our plane that night. And I saw this in a store, and the store was closed. And I thought, I really like that. It's made of shards of mirror and red tile, and really shimmers when you see it in person. I have a light in front of it, makes it really shimmer. And so it's totally different than my others that are pieces of glass, one piece of glass. This is thousands of pieces. So I got home and thought more and more about it, but I didn't even know the name of the store. So I got on Google Earth Street Views and went up and down the streets of Anchorage till I found the store. So I found the name of the store. Then I Googled that and got their website, and then got their email address and emailed them and asked if they still had it, how much it was and all that, and did the whole transaction over the internet. And they shipped it to me. This is another piece. You can see the swirl there is clear. I'm not even sure who gave it to me. A friend gave it to me. And I've gone so far as to buy a floor lamp that has a Venetian column, a Venetian glass column. You can see a couple of those plates the way they're hanging on the wall there and standing up. This is my dining room lamp. It's Murano glass. This is the last piece I bought at Tsuki so far. Last time I went to the Tsuki Valley glass store, I refrained from buying anything. This is in my bedroom because my bedroom's done, has a green wall and kind of orange and green bedspread, so it kind of goes with it. It's more opaque than the others. This is from the Art and Design Museum in New York on Columbus Circle. The top floor is a restaurant called Robert, which is a wonderful restaurant, and then you can go down the floors and see the different artists at work and art exhibits. And I bought this from one of the artists. This it says blows glass. It should say blown glass. I actually made this. I'm not very artistic, and it's is a pretty simple vase, I guess, but I was pretty proud of it. The interesting thing is where it was made. You know, you have furnaces at 4,000 degrees to anneal these and melt the glass and things. And we're on a cruise ship in the middle of the Pacific Ocean with 4,000 degree furnaces making glass. So that was kind of cool. This is my favorite. This is from Murano Island, which is off the coast of Venice. It's real Murano glass. You can see, I put the scissors there so you can see the scale of it. It's about 1.5 feet tall. It weighs 38 pounds of glass. And the circles inside and the bubbles are a proprietary process. They would not let us watch them make this or anything like this. But they would let us watch them make little animals and things out of glass. They had to ship it to me. It came through JFK airport through customs. They called me and said, you bought 38 pounds of glass? I said, yeah. So they had to ship it to me. And the black piece at the bottom is a light. So I can have a light shine up through it. And you'll notice the blue around the edges. This is like when the light's on.
Oh,
And here's a few more views of it. That's it.
I love that quote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any comments or questions or?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have a comment, Michelle. I noticed that both of you did what seems to me is logical. In this case anyway, you talked about many pieces in your collection instead of focusing on just one. So you might want to just leave that up to the person presenting, whether they want to.
Absolutely. You could have one special piece and spend 20 minutes talking about it if you want to. You don't have to have a collection of many.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
saying you could
question.
make it optional that you could talk about many if you want to.
It's up to you. It's your collection, whether it's a collection of 1 or 20.
Rick,
Are
Rick,
you,
Rick, have you considered getting a Chihuly glass piece?
oh, I was gonna say.
Oh,
Chihuly.
yes, I have all the books, the Chihuly books. I have a triptych painting. My daughters gave me a 3-piece painting of the ceiling of the Bellagio Hotel, which is all Chihuly glass. I visited the Chihuly Gallery at the base of the Space Needle in Seattle. I have tons of pictures of it. I've also, Chihuly has a gallery in Las Vegas, and I visited that, and I don't have enough credit cards to cover the cost of the glass there.
There's a wonderful video or CD out with hours of his actual working in his studio.
Yeah, he's amazing. I went to the exhibit at the Dallas Arboretum several years ago, and it was all within the gardens. He had pieces put up, and right near the end of the exhibit, they had a hailstorm and damaged a bunch of the
Oh,
pieces.
awful.
I would have
Yeah,
bought
Rick,
some of the
Dallas.
shards.
I was gonna ask you, Rick, about that because when I lived in Dallas, they had a permanent exhibit of Chihuly's works. And I guess you've seen that.
I have not.
Oh, you haven't?
Yeah.
Oh, it's wonderful.
I was just at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, and they have a giant Chihuly chandelier hanging in the lobby.
Ooh,
His works are all over the place. Just
All over
he's
the
amazing.
world, yeah.
He and his now, he's 80-something years old and blind in one eye, so it's mostly his workers that are doing most of the work now, but they're turning out incredible pieces.
They're still,
they're in Venice, Italy too, I believe. There was an installation.
There's an installation in Wichita, Kansas. There's installations everywhere.
I knew about the one in Dallas.
Yeah. San Antonio has some also in some places there, one of the museums, I think.
And your Volunteer of the Year award was a glass piece.
You're right. I forgot.
That
I
Bonnie,
had to
Bonnie's-
stop it. I had to stop at some point. I didn't get near all my stuff.
yeah, Bonnie, she knew that about Rick and she knew that that would be the perfect gift, so.
Yep.
Well, your collection is beautiful.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's up to
Yes.
my daughter to deal with it after I'm gone.
Rick, you talked about going that on the ship, there was the actual hot shop where you could do
Yes.
the flowing. Does anybody know if there are any close by here in the Austin area?
Oh, yeah. There's one right over in Hyde Park. And then there's one, they've moved recently, but they're out from town now, but you can take lessons in stained glass and glass blowing. I've often thought about doing it, but haven't. My talents would not compare to what I can buy, so.
When I was in Seattle recently, I went to the Museum of Glass down at Tacoma. And it's really interesting to watch the whole process, but it takes forever. They blow a little bit, they put it back in the hot box, they take it out. So it takes a little bit of patience to create what they actually do. It's kind of amazing.
Like the vase that I made started out with just glass, just clear glass. And as we heated it, we rolled it in colored pellets. So it got a mixture of kind of a coral and white pellets that we rolled it in different ways and blew and then rolled it. It's quite a process to get different looks and different shapes. Interesting. So what do you want to say about collections now, Ellen? What else?
You did this all on a ship? You said,
That one piece that I made, I did on the ship.
yes, that's,
Yep.
and I guess it wasn't rolling too much.
No, it wasn't rolling too much. No, I was more worried about, 4,000 degree furnaces catching on fire on a ship.
Yes. That's nice.
What else, Ellen? What do you want? What else do you want to say today?
Well, as we think about this as a series, does quarterly sound like often enough to get together for this? And do we want to make it just more free form rather than picking a subject? Just have any of you
We're
connect?
fact finding here.
Yeah, we need to know how this could work if you're interested.
I like the free form idea.
Okay, so one time it could be interesting tools that somebody has, and they could just talk about that, and other people chime in if they have an interest.
Good idea. You know, Stan Brooks has an entire workshop of tools. I mean, he built a separate building for his tools. He doesn't use them anymore, but they're all still there. We could do,
Definitely, we need to
we
get
could do
him on for
pictures of-
that.
And he has done amazing woodwork in the past. In his house, he has his moldings in his house and in his kitchen cabinets. He all handmade those. So we could do pictures of all that.
I have a different kind of collection. I guess for some 50 years, I have attended the Houston Gilbert and Sullivan Society programs every summer. And I bought a cup after just about every performance.
That's cool.
And
You know,
so
the Gilbert and Sullivan Society here starts tomorrow night. They're doing the McAdoo. Are you familiar with the
Yeah.
McAdoo?
yeah, I just think it's a pity they have to I don't want to say mess with, but transform the original just because of this stupid idea that Anglos cannot play real Japanese, you know.
Right.
It's just
It's
meant to be funny.
It's the
And it was
Mikado
meant
knife.
to it was meant to satirize the British upper class. It had nothing to do with saying bad things about the Japanese. So I just think it's so stupid that, yeah, the Houston did it too. They
Yeah, it was the Mikado. Now it's the McAdoo and it's been reset in Scotland.
yeah.
So it should be very interesting. It starts tomorrow night, runs through the 18th. If you're interested, you can Google Gilbert and Sullivan.
So
I have a collection of wood.
Michelle, if you're interested in those, do you sing as well?
Yeah.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, when I was living in Argentina, working at a high school there, there was no Gilbert and Sullivan Society in Buenos Aires. So I put on the Pirates of Penzance. I directed, produced, and starred in it, of course, if I was going to direct and produce it.
You're the one-woman show. That's
So-
wonderful.
It's a shame we don't have a video of that.
Yeah.
Well, I was, one of my questions is if it continues on a quarterly basis, how would a member or volunteer connect? Like, you know, say, hey, I'd like to present. What's that
They ought to
process?
They ought to contact me or one of the members of the program committee.
Okay,
We'll bring it up in the program committee and get it on the schedule and work with them to coordinate it.
okey doke.
Put together a PowerPoint presentation like we did. Whatever they want to do, come take pictures if we need to, you know, whatever would help.
Okay, because I have a couple of members that I know have interesting, I mean, not necessarily, well, I guess it would be collections, but hobbies too.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then I have my own bug collection that I could show people.
Bugs.
Yeah, well, it's going to be hard to see, so I would have to take pictures and prepare a slideshow.
Are they
That's what
alive?
Rick did for me because I wasn't sure that I'd be able to pull the pictures up one by one. So
Yeah, not anymore.
Are these real bugs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be all right to have it be rather open where if a person doesn't have, say, a collection that would take the entire time, but perhaps just maybe have 2 or 3 different categories in a
Sure.
meeting, if that seems to fit.
I think
Yeah,
we're
I think-
flexible, you know, we want
I
to get
think-
this off the ground and what people want to say and share is fine.
And for instance, I have a collection of wood that some of it is as I found it, and some of it is things I have done with it.
And we'll let
And
you share that
I-
with us
one-
as one of the subjects.
one-
That'd be great.
Yeah, one piece is just, it looks like a gigantic flame. And it's about 3 feet high and 4 feet long, and it's sitting on a coffee table.
Wow.
But it is just basically a piece of driftwood found alongside a river.
Huh.
And it's just gorgeous. And I
Yeah.
have a smaller chunk like that. And then I have long spindly things and blocks that people have made. And, you
Sure.
know, so I definitely collect wood also.
Vivian's being awfully quiet, but she has a great collection of rocks and quartz and minerals.
Oh, yeah, me too. I have a gigantic piece of smoky quartz sitting outside my door.
I've seen it.
It's actually, yeah, it's pretty large.
Vivian, could we show your minerals sometime? You're muted or something.
Please, please.
We're not able to hear you. Sorry.
Can you unmute? Unmute.
Muted. She's not muted. Well, I'll get with Vivian and we'll work something out, hopefully.
Those sounds interesting.
Anything else from people?
Before we quit,
Wait
I
a
would
minute,
be
Barbara has
curious,
something. Wait a minute, Barbara has something.
sorry, why don't you go
Barbara?
back to everybody can see everybody. Ellen's beautiful butt.
Oh, please.
Go up to view.
I've got the gallery in mind. I'm looking at all of you.
Here, I'll,
Hi,
got it.
Tom and Kay.
is
I've
that
got-
better?
My apologies.
Okay, what'd you say, Barbara?
I was just going to say, just an observation, maybe that other people have an observation on this. I'm into the mode for various reasons of giving some of my collection of pictures and objects around the house, giving them away while I'm alive to enjoy sharing them, rather than leaving them, given age, etc. I was just wondering how any of y'all feel about not making your family wait.
Good subject.
Good
that-
subject. Yes.
I think it's a superior idea and you can take it as a tax deduction too.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought of that.
Didn't thought of that. Yeah.
Tom
Nine.
will appraise it for you.
As I'm trying to downsize, the first thing that I'm giving away is pottery I have made. So I've been having my friends and relatives pick a piece if they wanted something that I had made and giving those away.
I have a better idea, Barbara.
Yeah.
Donate a collection as a raffle item to the KAW raffle.
Good idea too.
Most of mine is sentimental.
Oh, okay. No Picassos.
Well, my son's an artist.
I used to collect pottery. I collected it from all over the country, and especially my brother and sister-in-law lived in New England. We used to go out and find wonderful pottery. And when I left the library to move down here from Dallas, I gave away almost all my pottery to all my coworkers. I gave a piece to everybody. And so later I was sorry I gave it all away. But it was, I just felt like it was a good gesture to just give everybody a piece of pottery.
Cool.
And that could be part of the discussion too, is we all at this point probably have more than we will ever need or use. And how do we pass it on in a way that's meaningful? Yeah.
Our chair, our elderly chair, they,
House?
no, that the boys don't want anything.
Oh,
They don't want anything
living room furniture and but dining room. furniture.
living, with silver and glass, and it's just beyond them. That's what you do have when you have males.
I have two daughters and our tastes are totally different, so I figure mine's going into an estate sale that they're gonna get rid of it,
Jules, how have you dealt with that?
and that's all right, whatever they do with it.
So this is my first event, and I was curious to see what people collect and kind of thinking about what I might show that I collect. And the only thing I can think of that seems to have a consistent theme is my collection of single malt whiskey,
All right.
except that it's a drinking collection. So
Well,
it
we have
kind
to
of
do that
ebbs
one
and
in
flows
person.
and, you know,
I'll be over to photograph it. and
come
say-
on, that's when you need to do it. So. It's
Yeah,
kind
and
of
that-
Fraser is on the way.
it's a low ebb at the moment, but you know, it's a living collection, let me say.
Tasty too.
Really enjoyed that glass today. Beautiful stuff.
Yes.
A quick question. What other animals do people tend to collect? Kay has a friend that she continuously gives turtle statues to. What other things do you see around?
Owls.
Oh, I collect owls too.
I do too.
People collect butterflies, insects.
Jules,
I have made some butterflies with shrinky dink. Does anybody remember that craft
Yeah.
material? Shrinky dink. Well, there was a time when they had printable shrinky dink that I would do with my computer art that was a form of mixing up my photography through the computer and then doing collages and stuff. But I took a lot of nature pictures, and so I did butterflies, and I shrinky dunked some butterflies and cut them out and painted the edges with gold and drilled holes and made little antennae for them. And I have 2 left on my walls. I also am someone that I don't know if anybody wants all my stuff whenever I have gone on to a place where my baggage is light. And but something I think about a lot is I just don't want anything in a dump, because I have painstakingly kept some pretty nifty stuff. And some of it has value, some of it not much. But, you know, I do wonder about how one can, especially if you don't have a bunch of family clamoring for it, which I don't. You know, I'd like to know a little bit more about, okay, you know, how do I would like to ask if CCV would be the distributors of my goodies or something sometime, but maybe that's for another discussion.
I think that's another discussion, but actually an amazing amount of stuff like you're talking about, it shows up at the Goodwill thrift stores. Have a friend who populated his whole house with stuff that he had bought through the Goodwill stores.
they have some interesting stuff. I've been in there. Yep.
And that's-
Jules, I was
that's
gonna
cool.
show you. This is the towel you need. I just got this in Scotland.
Very nice.
Austin has a wonderful creative use that is another place, if it's something that someone else can take and do something with, it's a great source of how to pass craft stuff on.
Well, also there's Assistance League, which is on Burnett Road. And I go by there occasionally to see what people have given Assistance League. And there's some really unusual things. And you can see how things that people just love. And people are buying these various things, and it supports the Assistance League, and that's a good place to take things.
Great idea.
Good idea.
Yes, that might be more personal. But I'm sure all of us that collect, well, even, the glass that you have, Rick, sometimes going to Goodwills and thrift shops, you can find absolute treasures at these places. And that's maybe something us collectors could talk about too, is where we have stories about where we have found some of our very most fantastic finds that we have in our collections.
I
As an-
found a piece of Maria pottery at a thrift shop. And I don't know if you know Maria pottery, it's the black on black pottery. She lived in New Mexico. And I took it to an antique dealer. I paid $20 for it, but I took it to an antique dealer to see what he had to say about it. And right away, he offered me $800, but I wanted to keep it. But that was something I found in a thrift shop. So you never know, you're right.
As an artist, I have always been looking for storage capacity for artists. And there's a table on wheels called a tabaret that when I was in art school, we had metal ones, and they usually have, they're little square desks that roll about, 2 feet by 3 feet with drawers and cabinets and extensions and a place on top. And I was in a thrift shop and found a cherry wood tabaret, and I had never found anything like a tabaret anywhere other than, brand new. And there I was in a one of a kind little thrift shop in South Austin. And you should have seen me scramble back home and scramble back before that thing got discovered by anybody, but I do still have it, and it's quite wonderful. It has drawers that have heavy pieces of glass on the bottom. That's for artists to leave their wet paint, say oil paints. You can just pull open your drawer and resume your painting. It's got cubbies and, oh, it's just wonderful. I love it.
Okay. So as we almost approach our closing hour, if everybody could just go around and give a comment about whether this is a project you want us to keep doing, and any comments you want to make about anything you heard today.
Well, I'll start. I just really enjoyed listening to each of you talk. It was lots of fun, all interesting people, and to learn what has been interesting to you is just lots of fun.
Yes, I'd like to second that. I think it's nice to hear from other people. Many you don't know, but they seem to have a lot of things to say, and it's amazing what some people have done or what they've experienced. And Ellen, I love your dog. You seem to love the dog, and the dog loves you, and that is
Mouse, yes.
Those of us that volunteer to do drives, we get so much out of it. We get to meet people we wouldn't normally meet and hear their stories and visit. This community has quite a bit to share.
So if anybody else, let's just go through the whole gallery here. If everybody wants to make a final comment.
I think this is a great thing. I'm already just totally drawn in.
Somebody else?
Yeah, it gives us
I
a
enjoyed
good
it.
chance
I
to
would do
get
it
to know
again.
each other, and know more about each other because of
Yep.
these collections.
What'd you say, Jules?
this is my first event, and I would say I did enjoy it, and I would do it again, and would like to know if this is a usual number or if you have more sometimes.
It varies. You know, sometimes we have half a dozen and sometimes we've had as many as 25. And we're trying to do more of them hybrid where it can be in person and on Zoom. A lot of the presenters prefer to present in person, so we have venues for that. So we have one coming up next month. There'll be hybrid.
To both Zoom and in person.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
I would like to thank Ellen and Rick for their collections today. Very nice.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very, very much. Enjoyed
Thank
it.
you.
Look forward to seeing other people's. Holler when I can help and we can get the schedule for people.
Well, the reason I've been pushing for this, I feel like our CCV membership has the most interesting people in the world. I like the way to get to know more of you. Thank you for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Thank you.
care.
Thank you.